Good morning. Can you believe we're recording our last 10 on Tuesday for the semester? Last week when I recorded this message for you, I was waiting for test results and found out I tested positive, so I am now in day 8 of isolation with many of you, counting down days for when we get to experience freedom again. I guess that's one way to put it. But one of the things that I have found in me in the last 4 to 5 days especially, is I'm doing something that I've never done before. Never. I've begun preparation for Christmas. Yes. The guy who hates hearing Christmas music before Thanksgiving, the guy who puts up his Christmas tree Thanksgiving morning. Yes, I have begun making preparations for Christmas. I'm not really sure why. I don't overthink things. I don't overanalyze myself. But I remember a phrase that was coined in March when all this started. You remember well that Wednesday night when the NBA canceled, followed by Thursday and then Friday, and not knowing whether we were going to start school, and then Monday finding out everything was canceled. And here we still are, trying to figure out what this is going to look like. But I have friends who pastor in churches, and I heard this phrase used a lot. This is because we were in the season of Lent during that time, if you remember. And I heard this phrase, this is the lentiest of Lents we've ever experienced because of loss and despair and hopelessness and uncertainty and everything that revolved around this thing called COVID-19, which we know a lot more about now than we did 7.5 months ago, but we're still discovering things every day. But I think because of that, then, I have decided that you can't really prepare too early for Christmas this year. I mean, we've heard Christmas music in Ludwig since November 1st. The decorations went up November 1st, 2nd, 3rd. We started celebrating you guys have coined the phrase Thanksmas, because you guys won't come back after Thanksgiving at the end of the semester. There's just a lot different about this year, and so maybe it's okay for me. I don't know. Maybe my dad would be upset with me. I don't know, but maybe it's okay for us to celebrate Christmas a little earlier this year. But that also has me thinking about something that we all do during the Christmas season, and that's celebrate Advent. Advent, this time of preparation, but also waiting. Oh, I don't want to talk about that word. I've been waiting for 8 days now to get out of isolation. We've been waiting for 7.5 months to figure out where this pandemic will end. None of us really know. Waiting. Here we are waiting again. And now we're entering the season of Advent when we'll talk about waiting. But it's been something that we've been talking about for a long time. This morning I read in my devotions in Habakkuk. And in the 2nd chapter, the prophet is kind of going back and forth with God about how long this evil will be allowed to linger. And here's the interesting thing. Habakkuk isn't talking about the evil outside the nation of Israel. They're not in exile yet. Jerusalem has not been captured and sacked. They still have a king in place. Habakkuk is talking about the evil within the nation of Israel. And hear how God responds to the prophet. When the prophet says, I'm going to stand in my ramparts, I'm going to go to my watchtower, and I'm going to look for you to act and to move. And this is what God says to him. There is still a vision for the appointed time. It speaks of the end and does not lie. If it seems to tarry, wait for it. Seriously? Wait for it? 7.5 months of waiting. But again, like I said last week, if we've discovered anything throughout this pandemic, we know that we're not in charge. So, Advent. What better time to not talk about necessarily waiting? We're doing that as best as we can. But to talk about the words that we always talk about. You remember on Sunday mornings, the readings that the kids used to make when they lit the Advent wreath in front of your church? You remember these words that we've always talked about, that maybe for this season of Advent, we need to lean into like we never have before. We won't be able to talk about it until Advent is over. There's going to be a lot of things over before you come back to campus next semester, but here's what I want you to do. Lean in this Advent season and listen for how we are shaped as we wait by 4 words. 4. Do you remember what they are? Hope, peace, joy, and love. Hope, hanging on to things that we've yet not seen, that we know are coming. Hope, joy, not happy, not a giddiness, not an emotion, but joy that is something that transcends our circumstances and our experience. Peace, Lord have mercy. If our world didn't need peace and love, being kind and compassionate. So, maybe my dad would be okay with me putting up my Buckeye Christmas tree a little early, beginning to see decorations go up around the house a little earlier this year, and lengthening the time of anticipation and preparation as we wait, focusing on the words that shape people seeking to live in the way of Jesus. Hope, peace, joy, and love. As we walk through this Advent season and as you're home, I pray that you remain healthy, that you know that God is with you, and we experience hope and peace and joy and love in new ways during this Christmas season. And may the grace and peace of our Lord be with you.